everyone, it's Sarah from Nova Scotia. Welcome back to Colorful Creations. If you like what you see and choose to subscribe, just make sure you hit the little bell. That way you'll get notified whenever I post a new video. I post like once or twice a week whenever I have time. So I'm starting a new project today. I want to redo this shelf behind me. This is actually my massage room. I do massage therapy, well, part-time, self-employed. My full-time job is military. And painting's just a hobby. So I'm just gonna bring you in here. Here I have, so this shelf here, as you can see, I use to put little bottles of essential oils and little cute little decorations and stuff. And I also have this little space here over by the fan I leave open for clients to lay their things like phone, keys, mask, all those things. And it's cleaned a lot. Like I use spray cleaners and clean it because of COVID and all that stuff. Anyway, the paint is just getting yucky looking. Like it's clean, but it looks dirty. So I decided to redo it and then give it a coat of resin so that it's easy to wipe down and it'll look really nice. These are the only tools that I'm qualified to use, I think. Let's see. There's like 3 different kinds of screws in that. Good thing I have this sweet little set here that I got from Dollarama. I think I should probably take the stuff off the shelf first. That's the square kind. I don't think I have any square kinds. Uh-oh. That won't work. All right. This should come off. Oh yes, like I said, I need to cut this part over here. Now, is that gonna work? All right, I'm dropping everything. This looks like crap. Look at this thing. It's gonna look so much better when I'm done. I have to clean up this mess now, but... So this is kind of oily and everything from everything's been sitting on it. So I'm gonna give this a good cleaning because I don't want that oil to interfere with any of my paint and resin. I'm gonna wash it up good and I'm gonna prime it too anyway, but just to be safe, but I don't want to take any chances. So here's what I'm fixing. And this is with it washed. This is like the oils and anything I could get off of it already. That's how stained this is. That's no good. Okay, so I'm gonna prime this with a coat of gesso. It's just a generic gesso I got from Amazon. It comes in black and white. I'm out of white. I would have preferred to use white because I'm gonna do this mostly in white. And it's not a big deal, it's just the edge. The edge is harder to cover, so I'm gonna prime it in the black and then I'm gonna just paint the edge in white just to help cover it. I have a link in the description of this video to another video on priming with gesso if you want to watch it. It's pretty straightforward though, just paint it on. It takes about an hour to dry and it just helps to prep the surface. It's really useful if you're painting like right onto wood with no paint on it, because it'll keep, like you'll end up losing a lot of paint sinking into the wood, and this will kind of keep that from happening. But also, since this has a coating on it, it'll prime it and help the paint stick to it. Now I could have roughed this up with a sander first, but I am putting resin on and that will seal it all in and I shouldn't have any problems with peeling. All right, there we go. So I will wait for that to dry. Actually, I missed a little spot here. I see inside this hole here. All right, so that'll dry in about an hour. I'm actually gonna go eat supper first, and then I'll give the edge a quick coat of white, and then I'll do a pour on it. Okay, so this is dry, the primer. I'm gonna give the edges just a quick coat of white just to help cover them. All right, I'm all ready. I have some white paint here mixed up. This is mixed how I always mix. There's a link to a video in the description. I'm just gonna cover this whole thing in white. Should be plenty. I'll just spread this out. I'm kind of keeping it pretty thick. And I have a blowtorch to get rid of all the bubbles. I want to make sure that's covering the edges really good, so I'm just going to add a little along the edge here and then blow it across with the hairdryer. That's pretty good. So because this is so thin, I'm not going to add, I usually would add like strips of paint and then blow it across, but it's so tiny that that'll be way too much paint, so I'm going to add it in dots. So that first one was phthalo green with a little metallic green added to it. I'll put all these on the screen and the description as well. This one here is purple with metallic purple added to it. This is Pebeo Iridescent Blue Green. Just gorgeous color. This is a color shift purple. It's like my top is clogged, so I'm gonna have to be really careful. I'm just gonna put it in another cup here so I can have more control of how much comes out. Wow, it's almost all gone. So with this I can just squeeze the cup to a spout and then only a little bit comes out. This is a really pretty color. I have heavy iridescent gold. Doesn't have to be neat. This is a metallic cobalt blue. And this is another color shift green. Ultramarine blue with some metallic blue added. Metallics and iridescents show up really nice under resin. And I'm just putting a little bit of white. Hopefully that's enough. Can always add more later. Give it a quick torch. And here comes the fun part. So I definitely didn't add enough paint. That's a little disappointing, but you know what? I'm just gonna add, I guess I'm gonna add a full strip like I was scared to do before. I'm just gonna add a little more white on either side of this strip of colors to help it flow, because I blew a lot of that extra off. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. That's better. I think that's pretty. I'm just gonna go with my airbrush and blow a couple little spots that I see that look a little bare. I will need to add a little bit to help it flow over. Not many, it looks pretty good. There's no paint in this, by the way, I'm just using the air of it. All right, let's have a close look. This looks so pretty. This shelf's gonna look really nice. Much better than it was before. Look at all these iridescents. Right. This is looking really good. So now I'm just gonna take my popsicle stick and run it under the edge. I'm gonna touch up this little corner just with some paint that's on the table already and use my finger. Having a look at the edges, make sure it's all covered good. Anywhere that I see an empty spot, I'm just using some paint from the table and my finger and dabbing it, and it will help pull it down and cover in the blank spots. Okay, we're good. Now I'll take my popsicle stick and just run it under the edge to get rid of the excess paint underneath, because that will just dry into bumps, plus it can actually pull paint off the top. Well, the shelf is looking really good, so I'm just kind of wondering if I should do the other one, because it's not going to match. So I brought out I'm going to use this metallic white. It might shimmer under the lights, I'm not sure, but whatever, it's white, so it'll go there. I'm just gonna paint that on with a brush. So I'm just gonna take all this stuff off and clean it up, just because there's probably some oils and stuff, because these essential oils and stuff sit here. And I don't want the kind of bleed through the paint. So I'm gonna clean that up and give it a coat of paint. I think I'll just put everything on the floor. I'm going to use hand sanitizer because the alcohol will probably clean stuff up really well. Alright, we'll just give that a minute to dry. Alright, I'm back. I'm going to do a second coat because it's just not looking perfect yet. I'm going to add a little bit of Floetrol to this coat. Just to help spread it out and get rid of some of those brush strokes. Floetrol is really good for brush strokes. I'm not going to add too much. I don't want it to be too runny or anything like that. And also, too much Floetrol can kind of take away from the sparkliness of metallics. So we'll just add a tiny little bit. So I just got a little bit of paint in a cup here, and I'm just putting I don't know, maybe a tablespoon, I'm guessing. Right, so it's just enough that it's not runny, but it thinned it out a little bit. You can still see all the sparkles. I don't know if you can tell in here, but I'm hoping that'll show up. So normally to paint a shelf or anything in the house like this, I would have used a semi-gloss paint or a gloss paint, but because I'm putting resin on this, I'm just gonna use my regular acrylic paint. There, it looks perfect. So I will just let this dry and cure for a day or two. It won't need long, and then I will put resin on it just like the other shelf. Okay, so I'm gonna add some resin to this. I'm using ArtResin. This is mixed 1:1, and you gotta mix it really well for like 3 minutes. It says it's non-toxic, but it's always good to use a mask when you use this stuff, or do it outside or whatever. But I can't do it outside because it needs 20 degrees, and it's like 1 degree there today. So I'm gonna put a mask on and mix this up, and I'm going to paint it on with this little sponge. I don't want it to be really thick, and run over the edge or anything and make a huge mess. I just want a nice thin coat for this. I'll probably put a thick coat on the top one, but I'm going to do that in the garage separate and then bring it here and put it back together. So if I need to add any information, I'll either put it on the bottom of the screen or I will do voiceover because I won't be able to talk with the mask on. I'm getting ready to add some resin, so I just use some baby wipe. I always do this, and I just give it a wipe down. Just gets rid of any dust that may have settled on it while it's drying, curing. Well, hopefully not when it's drying or stuck in there, but when it's curing, and just make sure you got a nice clean surface to start with. All right, so I added resin to the top piece as well. Unfortunately, my camera wasn't recording for some reason. I applied it the same way I did for the shelf that I just showed you, but I used magic resin because I ran out of ArtResin, and this was, I had bought it a while ago because it was much cheaper. It's my first time using it. It's mixed 1-to-1, exactly the same. I do find it a little more picky with temperature. My ArtResin, I find, like, you should have the room at 20 degrees, but if I had it cooler than that or whatever, it didn't give me an issue. This, it cured perfectly. I don't have a problem with that at all, but I found it much harder to mix and really hard to get the air bubbles out. Like, I really had the torch really low into the resin. So anyway, it's not really a problem. It's just that the garage was really cool and I had turned the space heater on, but it wasn't on long enough to heat up everything. So that's the only thing. It seemed a little bit trickier to work with, but it still turned out really well. And you know, it's like half the price or something. So I'll keep using it. That's okay. So this turned out really nice. I do have a video on doing resin, not the magic resin, but like I said, it's done the same. I do have a video on ArtResin if you want to watch that, but I tape the back off of anything I do. It helps, and I do 2 rows of tape just because that resin will seep through, and it makes it a lot easier because you get these bumps that dry on the bottom, and it makes it a lot easier if you tape it. Now, I let this sit probably too long as a little bit hardened. So in that case, I usually just use my hair dryer to soften it a little bit, and then it'll come off easily with a blade. I show that in my video too, and I will link that in the description if you want a full tutorial. I'm just gonna kind of do this quickly. I'll speed it up, and I don't want to get too boring. So I'm just trying to get all the rest of the bumps off so they don't show underneath. So what I'm doing is heating them with my hair dryer and then slicing them off with a blade. This is how I do it. If someone has a better way of doing this, please let me know in the comments because it might save me a lot of work. All right, so I got resin on this. Look at this. Show you. You can see it in the light a little bit here. Look at the metallics. Isn't that pretty? This is gonna look so good. So I put resin on just like the shelf underneath there, and that's all done. I have stuff on it now. See if I can get this back in here. Okay, now put the screws back in. This looks beautiful. Now let's have a close look. So the one thing I didn't mention, when I painted on the resin, I ended up doing it up here too, but underneath here. So this started to run. So what I did, I come in every 10 minutes for the first hour and just took my foam brush and smoothed it out. And I'm really glad I did it. So because after about an hour, you could tell that it wasn't running anymore, so I just left it. Now it's not, I was hoping it would shimmer a little bit, but I mean, it's white, right? So you can see it a little bit, but it's hard to tell with this camera. Anyway, let's have a look at this. Let's get a better light here. It's turned out really nice. This is the coolest shelf I've ever seen, I think. To get some stuff on it now. There, all put back together. Perfect. This is the spot that I leave for my clients to leave their, you know, whatever, phone, keys, mask, or anything like that. And I can easily clean it and it's not going to look gross again. So happy. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If there's anything that you think that I could have done a different way to make it easier, please let me know. Any suggestions, questions? Anyway, there it is. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.